Another one. Ugh. Hell yeah. All right, what do I got? Hell yeah. I tell you what, I and my girl are going out tonight to celebrate having 100 subscribers by eating some motherfucking tacos. Hell yeah. It's the life right there. All right, hold up. Let me boot up that old restream chat so I can see where y'all is at. I see a couple of people out there in the stream. Oh, Alt Universe out there with the sub. Thank you. Hey, oh. What's wrong with me? All right, so when if you never watched a stream before, this is a novel that I'm editing. It's my 8th novel, or 8th book. Some of them were like shorter than a novel. And what we're doing today is we're going to start at page 247. We're going to read through the entire chapter 37, and I'm going to try and do the voices. First, I need to find Russian for go on to a dick. Yeah, let's try and find what that is. Well, first we know this guy is gonna come in. Bras d'honneur. Bras d'honneur. And here's another dude from France. Bras d'honneur. Bras d'honneur. They got that like hard glottal up in there. Very nice. Never seen somebody edit a novel before. Yeah, it's let me see. Oh, Vay just got clapped the fuck out of LR. Oh shit.
Dark Mage wish he had this hunted.
Oh damn. Shoutouts to getting $100 that Dark Mage wishes that he had. Damn, that's the highest donation we've ever gotten on this chat right here. Oh, and in fact, it's the first donation we've ever gotten. Hi, Zach ZYZ. You just received your first donation. Well, thank you so much for that hundo. Much obliged. Any money that you donate on the stream goes towards professional editing. That's better than the editing that I'm doing right here. God damn, I'm glad I went for the second stream right there. Shout outs to Alt Universe right there. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Look at this. I just received my first donation. Let me see. I can find out more info about it right there. Yeah, so it was, I can't really see the donation screen from over here. But at some point, I'll... oh, wait, hold up. I can actually... I think I've got Streamlabs on this guy. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, hold up. I'm gonna reboot the donation or bronation history right here. So we're gonna log in. I think this one is with YouTube for ZachZYZ, but it might be Twitch. There we go. There we go. Let me see how this is working out here. I forget how I configured this whole shebang right here. Yeah, I see it right there. At that's Kane Const sent us $100. God damn, that's fucking real right there. Superb. Well, that's cool. Yeah, after we're closing in on 80 hours of editing here. But yeah, so if you've never seen anything about this book, this is a story of a young woman who becomes very depressed after the death of her father. She tries to kill herself by drowning herself in the river, but she is thwarted in her attempt by a meteorite crashing down behind her. And there's some fucked up shit about this meteorite, man. We're just getting into it right now, but it's a lot of her dealing with grief and being depressed and fooling with this meteorite. Oh, is that Chrono right now? Hell yeah. Big Chrono. Thank you so much, homie. That's fucking ridiculous. But it went through the shitty face fake book. All right, cool. How'd the gambling go last night? Are you ready to like blow up the entirety of Louisiana with acetylene? Hell yeah. Shout outs to Big Chrono right there. Yeah, he's a fucking real one, man. He's single-handedly keeping the IRC arts community alive. Yeah, it's balling as hell. But shout out to that character right there. So yeah, anyhow, this all takes place in a fictional town of Silas in Maine, which is a town on a river. It's got like an old paper mill out there and whatnot. And yeah, we're just going to get down into it. So my methodology is first I'll edit a chapter by reading line by line and making changes. And I usually try to respond to comments and so forth in between. Oh, shout out to Rogue Editor right there. Apparently, Chrono says we're blowing up tonight. I wish I could stream for you guys, but I got to go out with my girl to a party. But yeah, trust me, it's worth not doing LRH. This girl's amazing. But though I do hate not to LRH, man. I love LRH so much, but we don't talk about it on this stream. Anyhow, uh, so my methodology is I'll read through line by line, and I'm reading for a couple of reasons. One is to force myself to hear it in a new light, to check for like diction and how does the line track and everything. I'm looking for mistakes and everything. And then we'll edit as we're going. We'll do like a little rewriting and so forth. We'll look for errors. We'll look for, does this sound like something somebody would actually say? Does the language make sense? There's so many things to keep in mind. And then after we've done that, which we did for chapter 37 this morning, we come through and we do a full reread of the chapter, and we try to do it as if I were narrating an audio book. Yeah, that's been my methodology. I'm trying to get better at narrating and trying to get better at editing as well. So yeah, we're close to that 1/3 done mark, which I'm looking forward to. Shout outs to water. It's definitely better than dying of thirst. All right, let's get down to it. What do I need translated to Russian? I can ask a person I know who might be able to help translate. So I don't need any Russian translation at the moment. But about midway through the chapter, someone says in Russian, "Go fuck yourself," and I don't really know how to say it. And the way he says it is "go on to a dick," which is pretty wild. Oh, cool. Apparently, the majority of Bitcoin trading is a hoax. 95% of spot Bitcoin trading volume is faked by unregulated exchanges. Oh, wow. 6 billion in average Bitcoin volume, and then only $273 million of it is legitimate. Nice. What a bubble. But yeah, we'll get to it right there. Yeah, I hopefully I'm getting the translation right. It's something that will definitely work out in a second translation, much more so than the first. But let's get to it. So chapter 37. Oh, actually, hold on, let me do it right. GRAVID by Zach Z. Wisey. Chapter 37. The fight ended, but the dark mood lingered. Another bout was starting, but everyone felt antsy in the basement. When the pizzas arrived, they seized their chance to escape and went to eat in the backyard. The moon had vanished behind a bank of clouds, and it was cold, but no one seemed to mind. There was still a sheen of water on the patio furniture, so they stood around the table holding slices folded into V's and teased each other. Jeanette wouldn't eat hers until she dabbed at it with a wad of napkins to sop up the grease. Freya saw Dan eyeing her with that animated look he got before he launched into a joke. Brad noticed too. He slid his head between. Brad noticed too. He slid his head between Dan and Jeanette and shook his head, mouthing "No." Dan's bottom lip was tight, locking in whatever dumb thing he'd meant to say. Freya started giggling, and Dan grinned at her and shrugged. The others didn't notice the exchange. It was something just between them. Tate was asking Riley about the band patches on her jean jacket. She was 18 and went to every punk rock show that came within 100 miles of Silas. Cameron, Radomir, and Jeanette were talking about the fall dance. Jeanette kept looking hopefully over at Radomir, but he was oblivious. Jeanette kept looking over hopefully at Radomir, but he was oblivious. Freya was so glad she wasn't tangled up in anything romantic. It was interesting to watch from the outside, but she remembered the awful churning uncertainty she'd felt about Peter Burrell last year during No Exit. There was a moment where no one was speaking to Freya, and she could just take it all in. Everyone was illuminated in the golden glow of the exterior lights. Wind was whistling through the bare branches of the forest behind the yard, but the cold couldn't touch her. She was suddenly struck by how much she liked being around these people. Everyone had been so nice to her. What do we got here? Coming through? Hell yeah. We just got a subscription notice on this right here. 6 viewers indeed. That is a far cry from the 1 we began this all with. And we've been like getting up to like 10, 12 people. It's fucking ridiculous, man. Telling you, 2020. It's going to be our year. So I'm sure I would hit numbers like that if I wasn't streaming at 3 a.m. West Coast time. This is true. However, you got to edit in the time that you have. I have to work a full-time job. So the only time you'll ever see me streaming later in the day is when I don't have to be at work. Though it would be really cool if I found the stamina. Oh shit! Shout outs to Spidey right there, a long time LRH viewer right there. Scamcast alt says, where am I now? So that's probably Spidey right there. So Spidey, we're editing a novel right now. So she was suddenly struck by how much she liked being around these people. Everyone had been so nice to her. Freya couldn't believe she'd almost gone home and just spent the night reading alone. Yeah, so we have almost and just in the same sentence. We're taking that out. Just almost always, when you have the word just, you don't even need that whole thing. So we have Scamcast alt and alt universe fighting to be the #1 alt in the chat. Freya couldn't believe she'd almost gone home and spent the night reading alone. The thought reminded her of the fragile phoenix, and she was sure now Dan hadn't had a chance to look at it. He would have cracked a joke by now. Yeah. We only need one now. He would have cracked a joke by now. Damn! They coming in. We got Spidey on the subscription. Thank you, Spidey. As she turned to look at Dan, she could see the crescent of light sweeping through the trees behind him. On the other side of the house, Freya could hear the, As Freya turned to look at Dan, she could see a crescent of light sweeping through the trees behind him. On the other side of the house, she could hear the roar of an engine being gunned as a car shot up the driveway. Someone's here, Freya said. Shit. Is that your dad? Jeanette asked. Suddenly there was tension in the group. Everyone seemed afraid they were all about to get rousted. Not a chance. He's in Munich. Maybe someone called the police about Claire, Brad offered. Maybe it is Claire, Cameron said. Dan was rubbing the back of his head. Freya noticed he did that whenever he felt uncomfortable. There were voices from around the house, and a shadow slipped into the backyard, peering around uncertainly. Oh shit, is that Rigo? Cam called out, and Rodrigo Dawson yelled back, Hey, Cameron! Rigo sprinted across the wet lawn to clasp hands with Cam. They had been friends since grade school. What are you doing here, man? Cam asked, and Rigo shrugged. I'm just along for the ride, Rigo grinned. It was practically a catchphrase. Rigo was well liked at Grayson. He was in perpetually high spirits because he was perpetually high. Another newcomer was rounding the house, a little unsteady on their feet. Freya was surprised to see it was Jane Yang. Hey, is Claire here? This is the party, right? Jane asked, not noticing Freya. It was weird, but then Freya noticed Jane wasn't wearing her glasses. Her eyes seemed very small without them. No, Brad said. Claire left like an hour ago. Sorry. Oh, she didn't text me, Jane said, seeming a little out of it. Freya wondered if she'd been crying. Her eyes were a little red. She decided to pop up and surprise Jane. She could find out what was wrong and cheer her up. What's good, everybody? A new voice called out from behind Jane. Freya froze. She'd been about to spring up on Jane, but now she wanted to run in the opposite direction. So there is no Morticia in this one. So Scamcast Alt Spidey is asking, this is one of the books that I've written. Yeah, I'm not going to, somebody's asking if I'm going to Times Square tonight, and I'm not. I'm just going to a party in Park Slope, and with a bunch of people who are like in their early 20s. I don't know what I'm going to fucking do. But Cameron. Malcolm Lewis stepped out of the shadows to stand behind Jane and Malcolm Lewis stepped out of the shadows to stand behind Jane. Damn. Malcolm Lewis stepped out of the shadows to stand beside Jane and Rigo. He was almost 2 feet taller than Jane. An open 30 rack of Coors Light was dangling from his hand. He had a big smile. Everyone turned to stare. As the conversations died, they could hear the distant voices of announcers booming from the speakers in the basement. Malcolm squinted in confusion. Then he noticed Freya. His smile became a look of disgust. Only Jane seemed oblivious to the dead air. Oh, shit! Freya, what are you doing here? Jane asked. She didn't seem thrilled to see Freya. Now that Jane was closer, Freya could smell the pot smoke clinging to her. I'm in the class, Freya reminded Jane. If Jane wasn't going to say hi to her, then she wasn't going to say hi to Jane. Oh, right. Krav Maga. Claire told me you were taking it. How is it? Fun, Freya replied. Behind her, she could hear Dan and Cameron snickering. That's so cool. I was thinking about trying it. There was strain in her voice. Jane looked over at Dan, hoping for approval, but instead she found everyone staring at her. For a moment, Freya felt sympathy, but why was Jane here with Malcolm? Yo, is there pizza? No, sorry, wrong voice. Yo, is there pizza? I can throw 5 on it, Rigo asked, producing a taped-up $5 bill. Look at this man with his busted-ass money. Put it away, Rigo. We got plenty. What kind do you want? Cameron popped open the lid on the pizza with pepperoni and black olives. Whatever, man. It's all good, Rigo said. He joined up with Cam and he took a slice. It broke the tension, and everyone seemed relieved. Hell yeah. Except for Freya. It had all been going so well, but of course, everything had fallen apart. She didn't want to be here anymore. Malcolm was still staring at her. Freya turned around and took a few steps away from the group towards the woods, pulling out her phone. Is everything cool? Brad asked, approaching from the side. Sure, everything's fine. It's just getting late. I have to get home. Well, you'll miss the main event. It's supposed to be really good, Brad angled. Freya wondered why he was trying to keep her here. She'd already made one person leave. I'm sorry to miss it. I had a really good time. Thank you for having me over. Oh, you're welcome any time. Thank you for bringing food, Brad said. She tried calling the cab, but it went to voicemail. She hung up to try again. Whoa, hold up. Is she calling the police? Malcolm called out from behind her. Again, everything came to a halt. Rigo turned to Malcolm with his mouth full of pizza, looking exasperated. What are you talking about? Brad asked. Yeah, that girl is crazy as fuck. I got suspended for 3 days because of her. Then she lied to the police about me. Freya clenched her phone, the other hand curled into a fist. He's lying. He got suspended because he was on camera with 3 other people who jumped me for no reason, Freya shot back. Her stomach began to hurt. She was afraid he would tell everybody about the weird thing at the river. Nah, that's not it. She pretended to be hurt to get us all in trouble. Everyone knows she's insane. That is complete bullshit. I dumped this guy, and he's been following me around ever since. He's a creep. No one is following you. Why would I expect you to be at a party? You don't have any friends? I'm leaving anyway. Don't talk to me, Freya shot back. What the fuck is wrong with you, Malcolm? Jeanette demanded. Come on, man. Chill out, Mal. We're guests here, Rigo said, holding his hands up. There was a line of marinara sauce in the heel of his right palm. But Malcolm wouldn't drop it. He was looking around at everyone, getting agitated when no one seemed to be hopping on his side. Why is she even here? He asked. Well, she was invited. Why are you here? Brad answered. He walked up to confront Malcolm, who was tall enough that Brad had to crane his neck. I was invited too. I didn't invite you, Brad retorted. Claire did. Okay. Well, it's my house. Leave. The fuck is your problem? Malcolm asked. He was getting in Brad's face, but Brad didn't flinch. My problem? There's trash on my lawn, Brad shot back, balling his fists. In about 2 seconds, one of them was going to throw a punch, and Brad was going to get annihilated. But before it could happen, Rigo rushed up to grab Malcolm by the arm. The cardboard handle of the beer case ripped, and cans spilled onto the lawn. Yo! Sorry, everybody. We are leaving. Malcolm is way too high. Thanks for the pizza. Sorry to intrude. Get off me, man. Malcolm's voice rose sharply. Freya realized she should have been calling the police all along. You're being an asshole. Stop it, Jane spoke up. She was about to cry. Malcolm was trying to twist free from Rodrigo's grip, but Rigo had his arm locked up. He was a wrestler. Brad took the opportunity. Does that sound weird there? He was a wrestler. Real talk. Missing commas and missing the word do. Yeah, so this is like a read through right here. So definitely I need context because I don't know where I'm missing the word do. Shout outs to Krav Maga and making America crab again. So it is Krav Maga, but the girl doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about right there. So let me get a second because I would love to get those missing commas and get that word do, but I don't know where they're at. Oh, I gotta tell you, this is like the best coffee. Hold on, I'm wearing pants I don't want to be. Let me not take my pants off on the stream. That could be disastrous. Okay, but they are. Oh, hold on. I got a way to do this. There you go. That dog is such a homie, man. He's always filling in for me, even though he's sleepy. Oh, omit he was a wrestler. It sounds weird reading. It does. Yeah, we'll just take out the part where he was a wrestler. It does sound so weird. He was a wrestler. uh, let me see. Do we have time to like talk about how he's like academically terrible, but like doing well in wrestling and basketball? Both were on the wrestling team. Oh, that sounds fine. Rigo sprinted across the wet lawn to clasp hands with Cam. They had been friends since grade school. Both were on the wrestling team. There we go. So alt universe says if it's important, then later. Well, it's important right here in the story because we want him to be able to hold on to this boy who's described as being much larger. And we don't want Malcolm to be described as a whatever. Okay. And then we were somewhere down here. Where did we miss the word do? Don't talk to me. What the fuck is wrong with you, Malcolm? Why is she even here? I think the word do would only be in dialogue somewhere. Well, whatever. I wonder if Ray's Road Rage was just trolling us with edits that didn't even need to be in there. Or maybe he was just like a drive-through. We may never know. But keep in mind, this is not the final edit of this. This is the edit to get it good enough for a real editor, right? And the money that's coming in through Patreon and whatever is going into a big pile that I'm going to have to tender to a real editor, assuming that the publishing company that I want to sell this to doesn't take a big-ass bite on it. That'd be dope. But, all right. But Malcolm wouldn't drop it. He was looking around at everyone, getting agitated. No one seemed to be hopping on his side. Why is she even here? He asked. She was invited. Why are you here? Brad answered. He walked up to confront Malcolm. Oh, we already went there. There's trash on my lawn. Before it could happen, Rigo rushed up to grab Malcolm by the arm. The cardboard handle of the beer case ripped and cans spilled onto the lawn. Yo! Sorry, everybody. We are leaving. Malcolm is way too high. Sorry for the pizza. Sorry to intrude. Get off me, man. Malcolm's voice rose sharply. Freya realized she should have been calling the police all... We did this. She was about to cry. Malcolm was trying to twist free from Rodrigo's grip, but Rigo had his arm locked up. Brad took the opportunity to step backward. Step back. Yeah, let's just do step back. So Vaughn Misk says you should be doing this on Twitch. If you look at the stream, you can see like some of the chats there are coming from Twitch. Actually, I think most of them are from YouTube for the last little bit. But yeah, we're simulcasting to Twitch and Mixer and Facebook and a bunch of different stuff. So Alt Universe says, fair enough. I've not read the whole book. Sometimes the reader can think back for themselves. Oh yeah, have you not gotten to the part where there's Dan Gregulus is a main character in this story, Echo Shun? I couldn't resist. Only people on the secret stream are gonna know what that's all about. But shout outs to Dan Gregulus right there. But yeah, this is on Twitch. Now that we have our 100 subscribers on YouTube, if you would prefer to watch there, you can go to twitch.tv/ZachZYZ. The doc names in this book, like Dr. Gregulus and everything, or Dr. Garbuglio. Yeah, Brad took the opportunity to step back. That's right, run away, pussy, Malcolm shouted after him. See, I have to try really hard not to do the fake black voice for Malcolm Lewis, because in my mind, I still haven't transitioned that character into, I should probably like sit down and just write up like a character sheet for this guy, you know, roll up some stats, fucking give him like a rope and a bedroll and pick out a bunch of first level cleric spells or whatever for this dude. Yeah, because I need to I don't think I've done like enough development work on this guy, and part of what this rewrite is about is trying to find a place for this character where he's less of a caricature. Real talk. But let's take a drink. Get right back to it there. Big up. Oh, I see Peter Cap up in the screen. God, big P Cap. Happy New Year, P Cap. And Happy New Year to everybody else that's up in this. Big Echo Shun, Rogue Editor, Alt Universe, all these new folks running through here. Y'all are real ones. I'm just out here on the street. That's right. Run away, pussy, Malcolm shouted after him. Dan Gregulus stepped in between the two of them with his arms outstretched like a referee. Yo, right there. Okay, settle down. Both of you, settle down. We're missing the real fights watching you amateurs. Yeah, this is too wordy. I think prance around is the wrong. Enough. We're risking real fights for this amateur shit. Malcolm, why don't you just jet? This isn't really your kind of party. None of us even drink, man. For a moment, disappointment crossed Malcolm's face. He hadn't come here for this. Rigo was still locked on his arm, and Jean was fuming at him. Dan bent down and picked up the wounded 30 rack, holding it out to Malcolm. Here, no hard feelings. Malcolm hesitated for a moment, then he slapped the case to the ground with his free hand. Why don't you fucking make me, Gregulus? Malcolm strained again to get free, but Rigo wasn't letting go. Okay, Dan replied. He shifted his stance, ready to fight. Malcolm hadn't expected that. He stopped struggling, sizing Dan up. A moment passed, and when Malcolm made no move, Dan shrugged and turned to Freya. I can just give you a ride back home. Fuck this guy, Dan said, turning his back on Malcolm. That's right. Run off, you right-knighting faggot. You're lucky we're not alone. Dan turned back to him. Okay, let's go right now. Let him go, Rigo, Dan said. Freya couldn't understand how he was so calm. Malcolm was so much bigger than him. No, let's not, all right? These dudes are like MMA and shit. Come on, fool. No, let's not, okay? These dudes are like MMA and shit. Come on, fool. Let me go, pussy. I'll fuck him up. Malcolm spat. They could see Rodrigo blanch at the words, but he kept trying to haul Malcolm away. Hey, Rigo. Cut this idiot loose, Cam called out. Rodrigo let go so suddenly that Malcolm stumbled towards Dan. You ready? Dan asked, putting his hands up. Malcolm looked back at Rigo. Now that no one... We're rushing through it. Slow down. You ready? Dan asked, putting his hands up. Malcolm looked back at Rigo. Now that no one was holding him back, he didn't look so eager anymore. Fuck off. You'll probably all gang up on me. Just me. You ready? Dan extended a fist, as if he were about to touch gloves at a bout. I'm not stupid, Malcolm shot back. He didn't put his own hands up. Debatable, Tate called out from the back. Closer to the fight, Radomir laughed, a single loud, Ha! Shut the fuck up, Fagamir, Malcolm fired at him. No one hits in. That's not even close to how this would be said in Russian. That might not even be what I think it means in Russian. Right there. But go on to a dick, Radomir shot back. In the heat of the moment, he'd reverted to Russian. Freya's eyes widened. She knew what he'd said. When Radomir saw Malcolm looking confused, he tried again in English. Go on to a cock. Take your beating, coward. No, so Sukya Blat, that's not what I want. That's definitely not the right Russian. So I just have to trust myself. I did like some Russian here, and I think I even went into wikipedia.ru or something like that. And I was like, hey, help me out. And this is what they told me. So I might be wrong, but I think I might have asked like Monkey or Canada 420. Both of them can speak passable Russian. So if we see Monkey, he can like set us straight on how it should be pronounced and everything. But take your beating, coward. Cameron started laughing first, and Tate followed. It infected everyone but Dan and Malcolm. Radomir had spoken seriously, but he sounded so ridiculous. Freya couldn't help but laugh herself, and after a moment even Dan was cracking up. Surrounded by laughter, with Dan standing in front of him ready to fight, Malcolm seemed to finally realize he was on his own. His eyes shot around in the yellow light, looking for a way to save face. Finally, he abandoned the broken case of beer and walked away without another word. Stay black. Why not Iri na Hui? What's the Iri na Hui? Is that like Lomas Turbis? I love that legendary city. And walked away without another word. Cameron and Tate were still laughing as Malcolm vanished into the darkness, and Dan gave a bras d'honneur. No, that's not even close. Dan gave a hold on.
Bras d'honneur.
And Dan gave a bras d'honneur at the retreat. And still undefeated, Cameron called out, lifting Dan's arm like a champion. They could hear Malcolm's engine rev as he peeled out of the driveway. Inside the house, the announcers were roaring. Something big had happened in the final round. The excitement died away, and everyone was suddenly staring at The excitement died away, and everyone was suddenly staring at Jane Yang. I'm so sorry, Freya, Jane said. Freya stared at her and shrugged. She had nothing nice to say. All she had to do was say it was okay and hug Jane to fix everything. But she didn't. Jane turned away from the group and started to cry. Everyone looked around, uncertain and uncomfortable. Radomir's eyes met Freya. Once they would have both rushed over to comfort her, but it wasn't like that anymore. It should be Jane there. Oh shit, it's Gray Block Pizza Hitter up in this. Yes, we hit 100 subscribers, and now we got a custom Earl, and I'm so fucking happy about it. I that's like such a weird milestone, but yeah, man, like we've been fucking doing it. Once they would have both rushed over to comfort Jane, but it wasn't like that anymore. Freya felt a mixture of confusion and guilt. She should have relented, but why was Jane hanging out with Malcolm? She was probably fucking him. Well, shit, we gonna call a taxi, I guess, Rigo said, trying to break up the awkwardness. Sorry about that dude. His family is real messed up. Come on, Rigo. That guy's just an asshole. Why do you hang out with him? You can do better. Cam chided. He's my teammate, you know. I never seen him act a fool like that before. Plus, he's got wheels. How's that working out for you? Cam tilted his head in the direction of the driveway. Not so good at present, you know. Rigo shrugged at the situation. He didn't seem too put out. Hey, Brad, can this dumbass stay and watch the fight with us? Cam asked. Like that. I didn't read that sentence correctly. Hey, Brad, can this dumbass... Oh, yeah, so we need a comma there. That's part of it. Hey, Brad, can this dumbass stay and watch the fight with us? Cam asked. Yeah, sure. I don't care. You can both stay. I just meant Malcolm with the whole trash on my lawn thing. Not you guys. When I do the reading, I'm going to do Brad's voice like Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, sure. I don't care. You can both stay. I just meant Malcolm with the whole trash on my lawn thing. Not you guys. That's a terrible Tarantino. God. Why am I so bad? Because I don't put any time into them. But it would be great if I like practice impressions every day for an hour a day. Maybe that'll be my next fucking stream. Trying to get better at that. You two want some pizza? Oh, no doubt. Thank you. Rigo happily took another slice. Jane turned around and apologized to everyone again, not meeting Freya's eyes. She snuffled and took a slice too. She's getting fat, Freya thought uncharitably. Then she wondered why she was being so mean. Freya had eaten 2 slices herself, and she was planning on eating another once everyone had caught up. When Jane had turned away and cried, she'd been almost glad. It was a terrible way to feel. It was a Lhasa way to feel. After it all, she wondered if she ought to just go home anyway. Oh, what do we got there? We got Elegant Elliot Often. He says, hey, Zach, how the hell are you, pal? And said, Alt Universe says we have IRC users in this chat. Yeah, we all hang out on Freenode in Pound Wrong Planet. Da Dina Hui. Nenha Dina Hui. Russian for go fuck yourself. Go on a cock. Russian for go fuck yourself. Okay, cool. So Dina Hui. Dina Hui. I have no idea the right way to say that right there. Alt Universe says, nice, I hang on free. No, actually, you know, we don't actually hang out in Pound Wrong Planet. Let me see. Elegant Elliot often says, it's often, not often, get it right. Right. Okay, yeah, if it's that important to you. Man's got like 8 exclamation points up in that motherfucker. It's critical that we get Elliot often right there. I'm just going to make a mnemonic device like I'm often myself because I fucked that up. So let me see what Spithywa says. The Spithy is usually on the point. Idi na Yui. So Spithywa is very drunk for a year. Shout outs to Spithywa right there. When you sober up, remember we're going to talk about that Rapasaurus at some point. Who we got right here? Little Nick Gurr says, what's up, dude? Shout outs to Little Nick right there. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Fucking ridiculous right there. Look at this cast of rogues we've got joining up to the chat right here. What a weird and wacky world I inhabit here on the YouTube chat. I got 11 people watching this. It's an all-time high. All right, back to it. After it all, she wondered if she ought to just go home anyway. Everything felt so awkward and weird now. It was all because of her. She felt the star ball in her pocket. Did it only seem warmer because it was cold out? The others were gathering up the pizza boxes and cans of Coors Light and headed back into the house. Dan lingered behind the others. They were the last ones left outside. What do we got here? Someone's cosplaying or roleplaying. Somebody's always fucking cosplaying out here. That's just the nature of the internets. What do we got here? Oh, little Nick apparently stole this guy's bike. That's fucked up, man. You should return that bicycle. You know, I had a bike stolen from me once. It was like a beachcomber bicycle. It was called a Jaguar or something like that. I don't know. I don't know why that comes back to me here. But yeah, I haven't had a bike stolen since then. I just got like a way, like I had like one of those little chintzy little fucking locks, and like in New York you got to get the kryptonite. That's just all there is to it right there. So I got the kryptonite and ain't had a bike stolen since. Praise Allah. Dan lingered. You coming? He joked, and she nodded, feeling like she ought to say something. Hey, thank you for that. I wish I was big enough to fight him. I'm not even sure I'm big enough, Dan said, with his hand on the back of his head. He has 40 pounds on me. Kind of glad he chickened out. Take your beating, coward. Freya did a pretty good impression of Radomir. That's him. Perfect. Do you know what he said before that? Dan Huey. It's the same thing. Go onto a dick is like the Russian version of go fuck yourself, she explained. Radomir says Russian is the best language in the world to curse in. What? Radomir is crazy. I'm surprised he came out. Jeanette wanted me to invite him, but, I mean, you know him. There's no way, right? There's no way. Freya nodded in agreement. I think that originally said, there's no way. She, like, shook her head in agreement. There's no way. Oh, yeah, you wouldn't nod in agreement. There's no way. Freya shook her head. Is he into guys, then? I don't think he's into anyone. Literally, all he cares about is dancing. I'm surprised he could even come out. Usually, he's away for the weekend studying. So you see where we started off with the male voice, and then, like, midway through the sentence, I, like, lapse in. Oh, my God, it's going to be so hard for me to become a decent narrator. Oh, shout-outs to Swedge up in the chat, who's congratulating me on getting that custom Earl. Is that Rukus right there? Swedgen? Could that even be possible? Shout-outs to Rukus if he's in the chat. That would be wild. I don't think he's into anyone. Literally all he cares about is dancing. I'm surprised he could even come out. Usually he's away for the weekend studying. So here we need a qualifier. I kind of don't think he's into anyone. Literally all he cares about is dancing. I'm surprised he could even come out. Usually he's away for the weekend studying. Yeah, he said this was his one weekend off for the month. Wild. Well, it seems like he's having a good time, at least. Wait, is that why you invited me here? Freya asked, suddenly worried they were trying to fix her up with Tate or something. No, I just, you're in the class with us. You're cool. I would have invited you on Wednesday, but you were with Vicko afterward. Yeah, well, I'm sorry for driving everyone away. That's not your fault. I don't know what's up with Claire. She's been weird like this all month with me. Oh, Freya began, and she wasn't sure if she should go on. Dan gave her a look, and she felt like she had to tell him. Well, I don't know this for sure, but I think Jane likes you, and I think Claire likes Jane. That's just a guess. Please don't tell them you heard that from me. Oh no. There's no way, Dan said. I mean, shit, that sounds mean. I'm just, that's not happening, he concluded. Freya was surprised at how relieved she felt. That sort of explains the Claire thing, Dan continued. I don't know why she didn't just ask me about it. Thanks for telling me. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for inviting me here. Everyone is really cool. I think I might just go home, though, Freya said, making the decision mid-sentence. Oh, really? I kind of like to not deal with the whole Jane thing. Do you want to ride home? I wanted to talk with you about your book. Freya felt like the ground was crumbling beneath her feet. Oh, so you looked at it, Freya said, her eyes on the grass. Why the hell had she lied to him at the diner? Way more than just looked at. I've read The Fragile Phoenix about 3 times. I've been seeing Dr. G for years. What? Freya blinked. How? You're so together. Well, I didn't used to be. I'd like to talk with you about it if you want to. It took her a moment to process that. Her first thought was to refuse, but as she considered it, the idea, she really did want to talk with him about therapy. Yeah, we could do that, Freya said, and when he smiled at her, it cut right through her. She never would have suspected. She remembered the grocery bag full of library books in Brad's front hallway. Oh, I have to get my bag from inside anyway. Do you want to just catch the last 2 fights, then go? Yeah, totally. Just, help me fight off Jane, please. Yeah, totally. Just, help me fend off Jane, please. Just use your Krav Maga to defend yourself, Freya said, and they laughed as they walked inside together. Look at that. All right, shouldn't that be didn't used to be? I didn't used to be. No. Actually, I believe that the grammar in the sentence, so Freya, what? How? You're so together. I didn't used to be. And what he's replying to is the word together there. You're so together. So implied in that sentence is, I didn't used to be so together, right? So conversationally, I think in English, you would not, I didn't used to be. No, it doesn't track right. So that's tough, right? Because the D looks like it's correct. But I think in conversational English, that D would not be there. I'm like only 75% on that one. You could easily be right. Let's try reading it both ways and see what sounds right. What? How? You're so together. Oh. What? How? You're so together. Present tense, right? I didn't used to be. Used to be. Fuck. Oh. I didn't used to be. I didn't used to be. No, the D is totally wrong. So use with the D feels right to Spathiwa. Fuck. See, this is what we need. A real editor. I see now. Yeah, I honestly do not yet know. Let's see if there's a page on this or something. Something familiar or routine. Use occurs with did. Did you used to work here? it didn't used to be like that. Describing, ooh, this is like way more complicated. Um, typically occurs with, it didn't used to be like that. Describe something in the past that doesn't happen anymore. So I'm going to claim victory in our time because we're talking about something, a tense in the past that doesn't occur any longer. Thank God I was able to defeat a non-native English speaker. Although, like it's tough to call Spathy Wah a non-native English speaker. I think his English is a little bit better than mine. But victory, Spathy. I've got it. Oh, I needed that win because I think I've been wrong like the last 4 or 5 times Spathy has challenged me. Okay, so yeah, that chapter is so much better than we started off. Okay, so Spathy says, yeah, that applies 100%. Cool. Yeah, that was one where I really had to think about that one, and I wasn't at all sure on it there, and I can see where you're coming from. Sometimes you may want to keep it wrong if that's the way they talk. Well, it's true, but that wasn't like a deliberate decision. Like, I'm going to make this error because people error in that talk. It's, I really did not know what was what and who was who. So John Eliot says, treat it like the imperfect. Cool. Yeah, so that's getting like pretty fucking spicy between Freya and Dan Gregulus here. I wonder if there's a future for these two star-crossed young lovers, but probably not. I'm not going to give anything away right there. See, I'm enjoying myself. I want to dive into chapter fucking 38 here. I think chapter 38 is relatively short, but literally I don't have to do anything until like 5 p.m. today. Like probably about like 4:15. I need to shave and bicycle over to my girlfriend's house. Yeah, it's good to know for the knowledge sake. That's I had that feeling about it being like past, like talking about something that used to occur in the past. But I'm gonna be wrong so many times. We should always just check anytime that I think something is right, because I'm not a grammatical expert or an editing expert or anything. I am expert at writing bullshit stories and making things up, but yeah, I got to be up there in like one of the top earning liars out there. You know, not like on a global scale or anything, but in terms of what lies will do for you, I've definitely paid them dues. All right, so let's get to chapter 38. So I believe that this is like a emotional scene between Dan and Freya. So if you're just tuning in or whatever, Dan Gregulus is a high school senior who is in Freya's Krav Maga class. She knows him because he acted, I think he was Joe something in the play The Lottery, her freshman year. So he's about, she is a sophomore there, so he's at least 2 years older than her. And I don't know what else she knows about his past at this point, but we will soon get into it. I still expect her. Isn't that weird? I was sitting in the park the other day after a run. People were walking past, and I caught myself searching their faces with this distant hope. I still expect her. Isn't that weird? I was sitting in the park the other day after a run. People were walking past, and I caught myself searching their faces with this tiny hope that one would be her. I know she's gone. I know I'll never see her again. But that little hope just never goes away. And so I had, what do we got this here? Always enjoyed Hubert Selby Jr. writing style, ///. Is that like slash fiction, like Spock and Janeway getting it on, or something else? I'm not familiar with that character right there, but yeah. So this actually happened to me once when I was breaking up with this girl I used to date who was like a lighting designer, and I was like sitting in a park, just like fuck, and you know, you just have that feeling You're just looking at people's faces and just waiting for one of them to be that person, so you can explain everything and sort it all out and all that. And no one is ever that person, right? Nothing ever gets sorted out in that way. But yeah, I was still waiting. Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching time. Fuck that song. Really. But anyhow, so this is definitely driven by like a real life experience. They'd driven around for an hour talking and wound up here, sitting on the bench in the old bridge park where they decided to keep this. Okay. So he was supposed to give everybody else a ride, and it sounds like he just bailed on them. So mm-hmm. They'd driven around for an hour talking and wound up here, sitting on the bench in Thoreau Bridge Park, where she decided to keep the star ball. They'd driven around for an hour talking and wound up here, sitting on the same bench. Sitting in the same. Sitting on. Same the bench? Sitting on the same bench in Thoreau Bridge Park where Malcolm had ambushed her. That was the day she decided to keep the star ball a secret forever. The tupelo tree that had been half bald was bare now, and the Black River was flowing quietly as they talked. The whole thing hadn't been as she'd expected. The whole thing hadn't been what she'd expected. Dan's car was immaculate inside. There were no fast food wrappers in the footwell. No debris in the cup holders. It was just an old white Toyota, but Dan clearly took care of it. She'd never been in a student's car where she hadn't had to take a bunch of junk out of the passenger seat just to sit down. The interior smelled like Armor All. Randall had used the same thing on his truck. He hadn't turned on the radio. Dan hadn't turned on the radio either. Every other time she'd been in a boy's car before, the first thing they'd done was blast her with the radio. Mm-hmm. I forgot to put bench. Did we take out bench and then not put it back in? We did. It's a good catch right there, Ekushin. Points. I need like a little bell. Ching ching. Oh my god. And then Moss also said that I took out bench near Thoreau Bridge. So both of y'all caught it. Yeah, I was thinking like to get like a little chime or something when people do something amazing. But then I worry that it would turn into like a Pavlovian response. So I don't want to. I'm not trying to mind control you people here. But just the same, thank you. Maybe I'll just thank people when they do something cool. Let me see. So Hubert Selby Jr. was an author that wrote fiction slash satire slash tragedy. He replaced apostrophes with forward slashes, which were closer on the typewriter to avoid interrupting the flow of his writing. Yeah, like I do not enter any kind of a flow state whilst working on this, and I'd like to think that I don't need to rush forward that much. Also, it's faster to type on a keyboard than on a typewriter. Like I can type a little bit faster than I can think, but I tend to think relatively slowly. So, but yeah, man, like if that's what you got to do, why wouldn't you just leave out apostrophes altogether and then just put them in the edit? I don't know, like if you're going to the effort, it's just they're close enough, but I guess that's a good idea of just do what works for you. Real talk. Dan hadn't turned on the radio either. Every other time she'd been in a boy's car. Every other time she'd been in a boy's car, the first thing they'd done was blast her with music. Yeah, I don't. That's better. Every other time she'd been in a boy's car, they always cranked the stereo. But Dan just wanted to talk. He wanted to know how long she'd been seeing Dr. Garbuglio, why she'd started, if she was taking anything, all kinds of questions. Not in a nosy way, more that he hadn't talked with anyone else who'd seen him and wanted to compare experiences. Just use speech to text for the entire book and have the editor have fun with it there. Yeah, I'm sure that it was like more stylistic than whatever. Writers are real fucking eccentric. Like I'm, not to take that away from any of you, but I may be one of the weirdest fucking people on this live stream right now, by far. And I know some of y'all are some strange characters out there, but yeah, like there's a lot going on in old load radio life. Freya hadn't turned on the radio either. Okay, Dan hadn't turned on the radio either. Every other time she'd been in a boy's car, they'd always crank the stereo, but Dan just wanted to talk. He wanted to know how long she'd been seeing Dr. Garbuglio. He wanted to know how long she'd been seeing Dr. Garbuglio, why she'd started, if she was taking anything, all kinds of questions. Not in a nosy way, more that he hadn't talked with anyone else who'd seen him and wanted to compare experiences. So here, wait, what's the understatement here? Is it real or the weirdo part about all y'all? I know some strange shit going down. Dr. Bugnug Gargiglio. Oh God, Bugnug. Okay, so one thing I'm noticing right here. Had. Whole thing hadn't been what she'd expected. Dan's car was immaculate inside, all in pluperfect. Fuck. But Dan just wanted to talk. He wanted to, okay, so we swap from pluperfect to past tense right here. When she'd answered him, he spent a while thinking about what she said. His brow furrowed as he scanned out at the glistening wedge of road illuminated by his headlights. He never took his eyes off the road as he drove. Oh shit, and they come. Dan was like Lassa. He never took his eyes off the road as he drove. It was strange to see him concentrating on a task. He didn't smile. He almost seemed like someone else. It had weirded her out a little bit, and she'd asked if they could stop somewhere. She hadn't meant by the river, but nothing in this town was open. But nothing in town was open. Now he was pouring his heart out to her on the bench. All right, pluperfect, resolve. And then Dan whipped it out. Perfect result. I don't know if he even whips it out at any point during this story. Or you'll just have to read on and find out there. But I assure you, somebody in this book will whip it out before all is said and done. Guarantee it. It might be Freya. You don't know what she's packing. Shout outs to Gray Block Pizza Hitter right there. Yeah, it's wild as fuck. Oh, so Octo says that we're taking multiplayer Notepad to the next level. Oh my god. Are we like straight up almost crowdsourcing this book? That's ridiculous. But we do resolve the how many fucking 4 paragraphs of Blue Perfect. I can, and it's actually a good transition from here to here. Like Lassa, Dan never took his eyes off the road as he drove. It was strange to see him concentrating on a task. He didn't smile. He almost seemed like someone else. It had weirded her out a little bit, and she'd asked if they could stop somewhere. She hadn't meant by the river, but nothing else in this town was open. Now he was pouring his heart out to her on the bench. Okay, cool. So I like a few things about that paragraph. I like that he has this mannerism that Lassa shares, and it weirds Freya out because she's weirded out by some moss. Says this book needs a retarded supervillain called Dark Mage. So apparently also he did not get in a physical fight with his uncle. His uncle grabbed his shoulder firmly and spoke down to him. So I thought his uncle had punched him. But so he called the cops. Oh god. Ridiculous. Oh wait, did PK bring Jigsaw chili? That's fucking wild. I don't know why that's happening. Hold on just a second. Let me let me get that guy out of there. What? So PK and Jigsaw met up. It was pretty good, but I have ideas on Jigsaw cooked PK. Oh wow. Oh, that's fucked up, man. Yeah, for some reason in our alternate channel, we just have like a lot of real life serial killers. One who is known as the Toronto transsexual strangler, and apparently he has claimed another victim and cooked her into chili. Luke Dell. Let's call him Luke Dell. I'm trying to find the anagram in there, but I'm not finding it. Moss distracting a character. Okay, so I like this paragraph. I like the transition from pluperfect to past tense here. I don't like that. Like I always write chapters where I start off present tense or past tense and then lapse into pluperfect to explain why they got there. I think it happens in like 5 or 6 different I'd be lucky if it was 5 or 6. It might happen in like 20 chapters in this fucking book. And I think it's just part of the writing process where I'm like, let's get into the action. And then I'm like, how did we get to this fucking action right there? And I don't think it's not the ideal way to do this, but it's what's been done. You could probably just chop off the beginning of this and put whatever in past. Yeah. Let's work on this chapter right here, right now, and not let time steal away from us. Now he was pouring his heart out to her on the bench. Was she older or younger than you? My twin, identical. Different sex monozygotic twins are really rare, and the female usually has Turner syndrome. That's a defect where parts of the X chromosome are missing. My twin, identical. Different sex monozygotic twins are really rare, and the female usually has Turner syndrome. That's a defect where parts of the X chromosome are missing. She died from a heart defect associated with it. Her name was Angie. Oh, wow. How long has it been? 5 years in December. Oh, God, she breathed. It doesn't hurt anymore. Or maybe that's not quite right. It aches, but it's not immediate, not crippling like it used to be. But there's always the feeling she's gone, like I'm missing one of my fingers. That's what I'm afraid of, that it'll never get better, Freya fumbled, not sure how to finish. It does. I used to feel like I was missing an arm. Right after she died, I couldn't even recognize myself. For a long time, it was like I was watching someone else do everything. I felt like I was haunting myself. Freya nodded, her bottom lip tight. She didn't tell him she was sorry or offer platitudes. She knew the distance could not be bridged. All this is just between us, right? Dan asked, with a careful look. Yes, absolutely. She'd never even considered repeating anything. About 3 months after she died, I started swimming in the Gulf. Just swimming as far as I could until I was totally exhausted, trying to escape. I kept swimming further out every day. I remember I would get as far out as I dared and think, maybe this time I won't make it back. Then I would feel at peace, caught in that maybe. It was almost like a game. I didn't quite realize that I was trying to kill myself. I kept pushing it, and finally I got caught in this big storm that came out of nowhere. I was way too far out, and suddenly I couldn't see the shore anymore. The waves got crazy, and I was 100% sure I was going to die. And right away I knew I wanted to live. Oh my God, Freya breathed. What happened? I had to tread water. It blew over pretty quickly, or else I wouldn't be here. That's the most exhausted I've ever been. By the time I got back to land, I couldn't even walk. I had to crawl to the dunes. I drifted a couple miles away from where I'd stashed my shoes and my keys. It was almost dark before I found them. I remember being just ecstatic, so happy I survived. I haven't been swimming since. A quiet fell over them, and there was a distant look in his eyes, like they were 100 miles apart. Freya reached out and put her hand over his. He was surprised, but he didn't pull away. Dan was surprised, but he didn't pull away. She stared into his eyes, searching. There was something a little too rehearsed about the story. She realized he was holding something back. Was that the only time? Freya asked. Dan drew his head back. For a moment, he looked like he'd been caught. No. How did you know? Oh. He trailed, and now he was searching her the same way. His mouth made an O as he figured it out. That you can't do O and O. Yeah, let's just check. Let's have that O right there. No, how did you know? Now he was searching her the same way. His mouth made an O as he figured it out. The light she tried to shine on him had revealed her as well. Freya took her hand off his and put it back in her lap. Do you want to talk about it? He offered. She shook her head from side to side. Her other hand shot into her pocket for the star ball. She was very close to just running away into the night and leaving him on the bench. I didn't either. The second time was after we moved here. That's why they had me start seeing Dr. Garbuglio. He's better. Better than he seems, I mean. I remember thinking he was just a clown, but he really did help a lot. How did you do it the second time? Freya asked, and then she wondered if she should have. She sounded so interested. Dan grimaced. I don't like to talk about... fuck it. Dan took a deep breath and clenched his hands into fists. Dan took a deep breath and clenched his hands into fists. I stole my mom's Valium and drank everything in the liquor cabinet. When she found me, my lips were completely blue. I had to get my stomach pumped. There was an ambulance, and we really couldn't afford it. She totally blamed herself, and I felt like the biggest piece of shit ever. I still do. That's the worst thing I've ever done. His voice was raw, and his eyes were rimmed with tears. For a second, she was just stunned by how hurt he sounded. Please don't tell anyone. He drew a sharp breath through his nose and clenched his teeth. He was trying to hold back sobbing. Now she knew why he was always clowning around and why he never seemed serious. This was the real Dan. This story sucks, not gonna lie. Oh, well, that's a shame. Smitty Werben-Jerson. Yeah, if you don't like it, don't watch. But I think the story is fucking badass, to tell you the truth. Let me see. For a second, he was stunned by how hurt he sounded. Please don't tell anybody. We went there. I shouldn't have. He choked. We don't need that. So logic says that it pumps him up. I thought about, because you guys can't see the lower part of my torso, I could totally just be working a penis pump under here and no one would ever know, just pumping it up nonstop like that judge. God, shouts to the pump judge. If we ever like hit it really big with all this penis pump stuff, like, I don't know, if ENN blows up to be bigger than CNN, I want to issue a federal pump coin backed pension to the pump judge. That guy was really true to the pump more than any of us could ever possibly be. Unless it was a powered pump, like a fish tank pump. That's how you rip your dick right off, by the way. Don't ever have a powered pump. So everybody was just assuming that was what I was doing anyway. I didn't mean to put that on you. If you want to just go home, it's okay, Dan said, completely miserable. She didn't say anything, and for a while all they could hear was the wind in the river. She made up her mind. I tried to drown myself too. Right here, but upstream at the rapids. In this river, upstream at the rapids. As soon as I was in, I wanted to live more than anything, and I managed to fight my way to the shore. But the feeling didn't last. Was it like that for you? Yes. The shine wore off. Shit, I'm sorry. We didn't have to come here. No, it's okay. I don't know. Today was a good day. Even out of the bullshit with Claire and Malcolm. I'm glad I came, she finished. Okay, we don't need, she finished there. Yeah, I'm glad too. People do like you. I know what it's like to be down in it. After the second time, I was so miserable to be around. I just kept shoving people away, trying to escape. Cameron just kept showing up, inviting himself over. Just kept showing up, inviting himself over. He wouldn't leave even when I told him to. He missed so much practice they kicked him off wrestling, but he didn't care. For weeks and weeks, even if I wouldn't talk to him, he would just hang out in the room with me. I actually hated him for a little while. Can you believe that? He found out what happened from my mom and just decided he wouldn't let go. Never let me shove him away. Never told another person. He's the reason I'm still here. Oh, wow, Freya said. She searched for a bit to find something else to say. She wondered if Betty would do that for her. She suspected the answer was no. Cam's mom sent us a really nice card after Randall died. She tried really hard to be friends with Lassa, I think. But of course she wasn't having it. Mm-hmm. Have you always called your parents by their first names? Yeah, for as long as I can remember. I'm sure it was Lassa's idea. Oh, cool. So, an editor that I flipped this over to was like, why did she call everybody by her first names? And at the time, I was like, I don't know if it's ever even brought up in the book. That's just the way that I wrote it. But they do address it at this point. Yeah, for as long as I can remember. I'm sure it was Lassa's idea, Freya said, and she wished she hadn't brought it up. She didn't want to think about Lassa. The conversation trailed off, and they both looked away. She was caught in a swell of thoughts, and it seemed like he was too. No comma. So Logic says, my brother does that. He calls our parents by his first names. And he says it's weird. Yeah, man. It's a weird thing to do. It's like a way of adding distance in the relationship, right? And it feels to me like there's this very like Montessori school element of it, like where people are doing the opposite of infantilizing people. They're adultizing infants. I'm sure there's a better word for that than adultizing. But yeah, like that, there are like very small tells in this that Freya is like precocious and awkward. And this is meant to be one of them right there. I don't know how much it comes across to the reader that she is like, like definitely like one of the weird girls at her school, um, or whether that's something like we'll have to like weird her up a little bit. Uh, so Moss says adulterating, and that's not what that fucking means. Uh, you drunken wretch. But it is funny. I'll give him that right there. Shout outs to Moss, kind of winning me over here with his wordplay. Uh, even though he is a skid. Uh, uh, she was caught in a swell of thoughts, and it seemed like he was too. For a while, she was just adrift, but then his fingers closed on hers, and he took her hand. Uh, she turned back to him, and his eyes were locked on hers. For a moment, oh, what the fuck is this sentence? What was I doing? So she is weird, but not awkwardly weird. She's awkward, but you're not awkward in your character development, if that makes sense. Okay, cool. Yeah, I want this to track as, the whole book is about this lady. Um, so if she doesn't come across the way that we want her to, we have failed. And the book will not be good. So just most critical that she remains like an interesting and engaging character, and that we get across the things that we're trying to say through the use of this lens. Um, what's the way to say that? I don't know, that electric immediacy. Yeah. So I don't know if I've like ever really talked about this. So if you think about the first time that you were ever like really fooling around with someone, I don't know if it's just me, but definitely the very first time that I was ever like getting intimate with a girl, uh, I definitely like felt like this strange intensity of the sensations, and it's never been that way since. Like I've had like fantastically better sex in like 100 different ways, but in terms of like the raw, this electric blue feeling of intensity when that girl touched me for like the first time, I've never, the first time, like it never was again. Feels like the very first. You know what I'm fucking talking about right there. So I don't know if anybody's had a similar experience, but I can remember that sensation of touch just being like something like my nerves were potentiated so high that I thought that they would burn out if they kept doing that. If that makes any sense. Um, yeah, like that level of sensitivity is fucking crazy. And as I get older, and your nerves are not what they used to be, and the pathways have been activated so many times before, it's easy to get nostalgic about that intensity that you once felt and forget that like everything else associated with that like all the weird guilt and the wait, incels in the chat hype. I don't think there's any incels in my chat. I'd like to believe that every single person watching me edit this novel is fully capable of getting all the vagina or dick that they desire. And if you're not right now, just follow my 10-step program and we're going to get everybody in this chat laid. I guarantee it. Not with me though. I'm taken. But we'll start pairing you off right here. I'm going to put Echo Shun with Gray Block Pizza Hitter, who's a real one right there. John Elliott, you're new. So I'm going to put you with the Smitty dude that didn't like the book. Alt Universe, you're going to go with Spidey because he's also another alt right there. We'll just, we'll get to the bottom of this incel thing once and for all. We just need to start assigning people off. All right, so now that we've completely fucked the mood here, when she'd taken his. But then Dan's fingers closed on hers, and he took her hand. It felt so different than when she'd been the one initiating. His intent was electric. If you get to that place again, you can call me. Maybe I can help, he said. Okay. The same for you, she trailed. Her cheeks had suddenly gotten hot, and she realized she was staring and looked away. Someone else might have tried to kiss her there, but she was glad Dan didn't. They sat by the river until they both started to shiver, and then they walked back to his car. The grocery bag full of books had tipped over, and he noticed the Void Captain's tail sitting in the back seat. It turned out Dan was very into science fiction. He was in the middle of reading The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. Freya had a few choice words about Heinlein. She was telling him about dying inside when they pulled up to her driveway, and he was very interested. He told her he was going to check it out after he finished Mistress. Lass's car wasn't in the driveway. Even though they'd been talking for hours, Freya didn't want to stop. She thought about inviting Dan inside and wondered how he would take that, what it might lead to. But he yawned deeply in the middle of a sentence and then apologized. She realized he'd been up since early that morning to work his shift at the diner. Freya thought she should probably let him go. She grabbed her grocery bag full of books. The Fragile Phoenix was in the trunk, and he got out to return it to her. She took it and set everything down in the driveway, and then suddenly embraced him in a tight hug. He seemed surprised, but hugged her back, and they stood together in the dark for a long moment. He was so warm against the chill of night. Thank you, she said, and her eyes were a little wet. Any time, he grinned. Text me and let me know you made it home safe, okay? Freya asked. I will, she asked. I will. Good night, Freya. She could barely stay awake long enough to get his text. She tried to read, but her eyes kept sliding off the page until her phone hummed. Home safe. Thanks again. Good night, Freya. She typed good night, Dan, in reply, and for 5 minutes she tried to make up her mind if she wanted to add something else. But finally she just pressed send. She plugged her phone in to charge on her nightstand and turned off the light. She shut her eyes. Then after a few minutes, she reached out for her phone to look at the message again. Good night, Freya. Damn. Sweet before or after Kong Fusey gets to him. So I don't know if Kong Fusey is going to be able to make good on his DEFCON thing. I hear he's broke now. And all he does is like tweet about football. So I don't know if Kong Fusey is going to make good on his DEFCON. So next DEFCON, we might have to pick another name out of the hat and have them kill Kong Fusey. So, yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. So, yeah, this is like an interesting chapter right here. And I'm like a little too raw to read back over the whole thing here, but I like what's going on. I love the decision where he doesn't like reach out and smooch her and everything, where the two of them are like getting into like a deep dive on the therapy that they're on right there. So, yeah, I like this interaction between the two of them. I like that there are like some romantic elements of it, but it's not like your typical, and then they fucked type situation, which was how all my relationships go. So they're actually, we'll see what happens with those two, but yeah, nothing is promised right here. So I feel like we didn't do a strong or thorough edit of that right there, and I definitely gonna make a mark that we need to go back and read through chapter 38. But I feel like chapter 38 is actually like pretty strong as a chapter. One of the things about it is that it's mostly dialogue for the most part, and I think it's mostly what you would call monologue dialogue, where it's expected that each of the characters is kind of making a speech because they're giving their life story. Like if you're ever at like a first date with somebody, it's really kind of like a series of interlinked monologues where there's some back and forth, but it's expected that you will have a lot of exposition in your whole thing. And this is kind of date-esque right there. So where are we? 38. Did he bail on giving? He absolutely did bail on. Mm-hmm. Who was the other one? Somehow, quietly, an arrangement had been made that Brad would be the one who gave Jeanette and Riley rides home. Okay, cool. So now we just address that. Like, there's kind of like a bro code type situation. Like, all right, I'm gonna sort this shit out right there. Cool. Yeah, I like that chapter. I think it's good. So we'll do the whole read through of that chapter, maybe in the first editing session tomorrow. So I want to see what happens after this because I don't remember. Oh, chapter 37 is a Starball chapter. So good. I definitely want to stop here. And then tomorrow we'll work on whatever. Okay, but yeah, I'm really glad that we wound up streaming here. Shout outs to Chrono for that $100. $100 is like 3 hours of a real decent editor sitting down and working on this. And if you're following along, it's been to get to 270, 68 pages right here, which is, let's see, so 24, so it's 802 pages. Wait, no, that's not, I'm not doing the fucking math right at all. So 750 and then 18 times 3, which is just 9 times 6, which is 54. So yeah, it's 804 pages. So we've definitely hit a third of the way through the book just in page count. I can't tell you in word count, but we're also at like chapter 37. So I think there's got to be some long fucking chapters later in the mix. So yeah, shout outs to Aztec Tito. I'm just seeing you up in the stream right there. Shout outs to Alt Universe. Shout outs to Echo Shun and Logic. We've had some like good edits too that people put through there that were really helpful, like missed words and all kinds of. Shout outs to Moss sitting in the peanut gallery over there. And thanks to everybody who helped us make it to like 100 subscribers. I am really fucking touched by the money and by the subscribers and by everybody like paying attention to the story. Once again, we're at the point now where I'm trying to get more people involved in this process. So if you know somebody who would enjoy the story of this young woman sort of making it through a very difficult time, let's hop to it and let people know. And I think there is some like valuable shit in here for people dealing with actual grief. And so, you know, I'm not like a fucking shrink, but I'm at least a garboglio out here. So hell yeah. So shout out to everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, it's been fucking real. And I look forward to finishing this with y'all in the new year. We can do it. Penis bump.